going to talk about EU GDPR, which is EU General Data Protection Act. And basically, it's about protecting EU citizens' data. It's going to have global implications. So although it's come from the EU, it's one regulation, one data protection regulation that's actually going to be exported globally. So it affects all organizations globally that process EU citizens' data. So if you think about the UAE, there are lots of EU citizens who live and work in this region. Then any organization that has access to that data, either as customers or as employees, will have to comply to GDPR. And GDPR's requirements are fairly stringent, so it takes the whole process from when the data is collected, so you have to have very specific consent, to how it's processed, to how it's stored, and to how it's deleted. So, and all of that forms part of the data protection laws that are already there today. So I think many companies who have some of that personal data will probably would have started their journey, if you like, towards being compliant with GDPR. I think the big difference, though, is that GDPR defines PII much broader. So, for example, an email address is considered to be personal information now, so that would have to be, that piece of information would have to be protected. GDPR also has a very specific set of requirements. So, for example, breach notification. If you have a breach and you have lost personal data, then you have to report the breach within 72 hours to the authorities, which is going to be quite a challenge because we know that most organizations today tend to find out from a third party if they've had a breach. There are also some hefty fines associated with GDPR, so it's either 2% or 4% of global turnover. That's a fine for violating GDPR. Now, a lot of organizations, for example, if you are based in the UAE and you have a breach and you have lost EU citizen data, then you could be fined by the EU. So, for example, if you're a financial organization in the region, then potentially you could get fined if you lost EU citizen data. So I think there are lots of process requirements, a process burden on GDPR as well. One of the things is subject access rights. So this is basically any EU citizen has the right to go to an organization and ask them for access to their data, and they would have to be given that data in a personally readable form. So from a process perspective, that's quite a big burden. So GDPR has many challenges.